Welcome to Turning Moments into Movements, where each week we explore simple but powerful wellbeing tips to help you live a balanced and fulfilling life. My name's Leanne Ross, your host and the founder and coach of my business, Happyluia, and I will be taking you through today's 15 minutes of insight and inspiration. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode is all about finding and forming the 4 best ways to develop meaningful connection in your life. And this is part of, my pillar 2 when I'm coaching about holistic modelling. So looking at your life as a whole in reference to the 8 dimensions of wellness in life. I will be sure to put the wheel in the show notes so you can have a little look. But this is really about up-leveling your social dimension, really improving the relationships that you have, developing relationships that you have, and also allowing relationships that no longer serve you to disperse. That's maybe a nicer way of putting it. So we are going to be covering 4 different areas, one of which is a really effective framework that I quite frequently use with my clients, and they certainly find it useful. So I really hope that you do too. I will be sure to post a PDF of that worksheet in the show notes so you also have access to it. And this is the stuff that I support my clients with very regularly. So it will give you a bit of an insight of some of my frameworks that I do use within my coaching program. So if you ever wanted to pursue coaching, these episodes can just give you a tiny little golden nugget of what to expect. So diving right in. So when we are looking at meaningful connections, that is very much open to interpretation, and it's very much person-centered around what you feel you need in terms of that meaningful connections with other people. Do you want to focus on the quality of the relationship, which I would really encourage? Do you want to focus on the quantity? Do you want to increase the level of people in your life? Do you want to reduce the level of people in your life because you feel that there's a lot of people that are perhaps dragging you down, being negative, maybe no longer serve a positive purpose within your life? And I mention this because this can feel quite uncomfortable to talk about cutting people out of your life. And it is something that we will explore a little bit further into the episode. But just start to think and reflect around what you feel you want to get out of this episode when you're reflecting on how to develop meaningful connections with others. So let's jump right in. So the first one is being present. So really engaging in mindfulness. And when we are wanting to increase our sort of attention, being present when we are in the company of others, there's just some simple things that we can do to really allow that to happen. So my top number 1 tip would be put your phones away. If you are going to a cafe with a friend, don't bother looking up the Wi-Fi code. Don't bother leaving your phone on the table. Put it in your bag. Obviously use your discretion if you're waiting for calls, or if you've got kids, or people who require to phone you and you need to take that urgently. Use your own discretion around that. But if you can, put your phone away. And I challenge you, next time you go out with a family member, a friend or a partner, do that and just see how the day goes. And encourage the other person who's with you to do the same. You are going to be more present. I've seen it myself. I've seen it where I have been chatting to people and then my phone buzzes and I just automatically pick it up. Then I read it read whatever notification comes through, and then I just become a little bit lost and disengaged in the conversation, and it takes me a little minute to catch up with the things that I've missed and what they've said. So it's a really, really good way to develop those positive conversations by just putting your phone away. Another example is to turn off your TV. So I found this when I had the girls round, I would put on your typical like background TV sitcoms, Friends being one of them, and quite often we would just end up sitting and watching it, which is all very fine and well, but the conversation would be very much distracted, or it would just be quite stagnant because our focus was on watching Friends rather than our chat. So what I do now is I usually put on background music instead, and that really enhances the atmosphere. It causes people to feel quite relaxed, and the conversation is the focus of the room. So that's another really good way to be present when you are engaging with others. The final point within this first area is to try and be present when you're talking to people. So it's inevitable that our mind will wander, but if you can just sort of almost put that to the side, or even just take a quick note of something that's maybe popped into your head, then put your notepad away or your phone or whatever, and then continue with that conversation. Really powerful techniques, and this is something that's really helped me to really add value to my conversations and interactions with others. The second one is effective communication. I could harp on for days about the importance of communication in relationships. It's a cliched saying. It's something that everyone talks about of, breakdown of relationships is all down to communication. But it actually generally is. It mostly does have links to communication or the lack of. So when you are developing reflecting on your communication style, reflect on things like active listening. So when you're talking to someone, have good eye contact and nod your head and, occasionally say yes and oh yeah, I understand, or, just gentle prompts to show that you're actually listening and that you actually care about what they're saying. Be open, so have open body language. There's a variety of different stats, but typically they say communication is 80% non-verbal. So, for example, if I was sitting here just now and you're watching this video on my private Facebook page, which if you've not joined, make sure you do. That's in the show notes as well. That's where all the exclusive episodes are dropped. If you saw me talking and I really look grumpy and just really irritated, you're going to be like, oh my God, what's going on with her? Even if I'm, talking about positive things. So people see it in your expression, they see it in your body language. So it's a really key area to be mindful of is your body language as well. So effective communication would be the second one. The third one is having meaningful adventures. And this probably sounds really cheesy, but I love planning really sort of nice, unique days out. And this does not have to cost a lot of money. It's really about reflecting on what you and the other person or people will enjoy. So is it engaging in different activities? Changing an app. If you're always sitting in the pub, maybe go for a walk instead. Or if you're always going out for walks, go to the pub and just sit and chill over a glass of wine or whatever. Reflect on your interests and the interests of others. Is there things that you both really enjoy doing, but you don't really do together? How can you enhance those moments? Sometimes committing to yourself to doing something unique is really powerful as well. So me and my sister, we are the biggest foodies. We love going out for food. So what we do when we're together is we will research nice places to eat, that we've maybe not tried before, or I've tried and my sister hasn't. Similarly, we love going for drinks. So likewise, I will take her to the bars in Aberdeen where I live that I know she'll love. And just paying that extra bit of attention is really, really important. There's so many other examples, but just really embracing that kind of uniqueness and engaging in that meaningful activities can really help to develop those relationships, because you're creating memories, aren't you? You're really enhancing that that memory making ability. Is that the right word? I don't know. The last one is using a 3-pillar approach, and I call this find your tribe. Now, this is a coaching technique that I'd actually learned from Burchard, so I will put his link in the show notes as well, so you can check him out. He's a really great coach. So he does this 3-pillar approach, and this is one that I really use with my clients a lot. So, and I would encourage you to pause the episode, look at my PDF, or get just a pen and paper for this, because it's helpful to take notes here. But this 3-pillar approach is writing one pillar, so one list of people who really serve as purpose in your life, who really light you up, who encourage you, who are really positive, who you love spending time with, who as soon as you're with, you just feel amazing, you're laughing, you're joyful. They're maybe your go-to people, so as soon as you feel, like you're just having a bit of a rubbish day or you're upset, that you'll phone them. And this could be family, friends, colleagues, your partner, it could be whoever. But just write everything down, everyone down who falls into that category, into your pillar 1. Also, people who influence you. Comedians. I love watching comedians online. So sometimes if I'm feeling a bit low, I'll go and research some of their videos and look them up. Inspirational women. I love following inspirational women. So they would be in my number 1s. These are not necessarily people that you have to be personally connected with. They're just people that bring you joy, that really light up your life. The second pillar are basically people, and this is going to sound really cutthroat, but basically people who are your mediocre people. So people that you're happy to grab a coffee with every so often. You maybe don't have a hugely amazing relationship with them. They're maybe not people that you would invite over to Christmas or a small gathering to celebrate something, but they're people that you're just happy having in your life. The third one, and this is the one that people struggle the most with, so just take a deep breath with this one. The third one is the people that you feel no longer serve you. And that can feel quite clinical saying that, but what I mean by that is people who drag you down, people who are toxic, who are negative, who are constantly criticizing you. And writing this down in the third list can really be sometimes triggering, because sometimes people on there could be close family members, they could be your manager, colleagues, it could be friends, and this can be a really challenging thing to do. So take a lot of time with it, make sure you engage in self-care. But once you have your 3 pillars, I now want you to reflect on some action points to get that balance right. Because ultimately we want a lot of time with our number 1s, some time with our number 2s, and minimal time with our level 3s. So how can you create space for your number 1s? What does that look like? Do you want to make a point of routinely catching up with them? Do you want to make sure that you start to follow more inspirational people online? Do you want to just have a conversation with someone, who does really light you up, but you don't really see them much? How can you increase that contact with them? Similarly with number twos, is there any changes, that you could maybe consider for that? Is there, people in your number twos that you see every single day and you spend a lot of time with? Do you actually want to reduce that contact with them in order for you to increase your time with level ones? Level 3 is probably the most challenging, but be creative. I'm not saying that you have to fall out with a family member that you don't get on with, because that's sometimes not the best way to go about it. But sometimes just being a bit more boundaried can be really helpful. So it could be that you say, okay, I will go and see this relative that really drags me down, but I'm going to actually say that I'm only available for 1 hour. It could be that there's people on your social media that you don't unnecessarily want to unfriend, but you can unfollow so you don't see their stuff online anymore. Really reflecting on how to get this balance right can feel challenging. It can make you feel like you're a horrible person. But ultimately, if you really want to create meaningful and powerful connections with other people, it's crucial that you do things like this, because being a bit more analytical with the people that you want to have in your life versus the people that you want to reduce having contact with, ultimately will lead to so many amazing things happening in your life. They say that, if basically your level of happiness and success is based around who you hang about with. So if you're hanging about with people who are just a bit crap and nasty and toxic and negative, that's what you're going to be bringing to your life. So really focus on, what do you want your life to look like? Do you want to be successful? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to just be surrounded with people where it's not complicated and there's no drama? Because if you do want that, you deserve it. So making these changes, or at least reflecting on changes that you could make when you're ready to do so, is gonna really support developing meaningful connections in your life. So to recap, the 4 best ways that I would recommend to develop meaningful connections is to be present, to effectively communicate, to engage in meaningful adventures, and then finally to use the 3-pillar approach. Thank you so much for listening. I really look forward to hearing how you get on. So make sure that you do connect with me through social media, through email, whatever it is. All my details are in the show notes. And yes, I look forward to speaking to you all next week. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Turning Moments into Movements. Why not check out coaching opportunities with me so you can really begin to enhance your moments into huge movements and begin to live the life you never thought possible? Details are in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave a review and share this episode. Remember to also follow me on social media platforms through my handle Happyluya, where you will receive additional daily content. And finally, make sure you join us next week for more tips on how you can turn your small moments into life-changing movements.